Welcome to the INTJ equation. Today I am joined once again by Mike. He is an INTJ. We did a podcast maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago where we kind of compared and contrasted INTJs with Schizoid Personality Disorder and Avoidant Personality Disorder. During the live feed, if you did watch it, his girlfriend River was there asking questions and supporting Mike. Her name is River. She is an ENFP and she has something known as Disassociative Identity Disorder, which was formerly known as Multiple Personality Disorder. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves here a little bit?
Me go first. Yeah, I'm an INTJ with Schizoid Personality Disorder. I have been in a relationship with River for 4 years. About 2 years ago, I think, it came to a head that we knew each other well enough that I had to investigate the family's claims that she was schizophrenic, because they told me there was no diagnosis, there was no explanation. They just kind of used that as an explanation to explain away their daughter. And I started to investigate more, and I learned that there are different kinds of voices in the head. Just because you hear auditory hallucinations does that mean that you're schizophrenic. And the more that I dug, the more that it looked like Dissociative Identity Disorder, DID. And she's been in treatment for about 2 years. She has 6 principal parts. They all have names. I have met all of them. I have to deal with them on a regular basis. Do you want to maybe talk about your parts?
Where do I even begin?
You can go down the list. I have it posted on the wall still.
Oh, yeah, you do, don't you?
How about Annabelle?
Annabelle is the inner child. She's the one that's innocent and kind and peaceful. She's also the one that is affectionate enough towards him to get him motivated, apparently. So, and then Angel, he's the one that likes to be creative, spontaneously do silly things or what have you. And he also likes to do, well, leave it to your imagination.
All right. How about Charlotte?
Charlotte, she's usually the quiet one. She is the explosive one sometimes if you hit the right buttons with anger, but she is mostly pretty quiet. And let's see, Candy. Yeah, Candy. She is the, what did you call her, an ESFP?
Yeah, she's the part that she's really easy to deal with, honestly. She's very, she's pretty accepting and kind, but she's very hypersexual. And it's very common for there to be a part that's split off because the sexual aspect of that person's life is intolerable to them. The memories are intolerable. So a sexualized part is not uncommon at all. And she does have one of them. She has a couple. Yeah, two. Angel's the other one. That's leaving to your imagination. And then there's River.
Yes, River is the primary mind that is supposed to be in this per se body, or however you want to call it. There's usually different names in the community, the DID community. I go to groups and everything like that, and they usually have their own names for what they call their own parts, what they call their bodies, whether it's a vessel or a body, or it's one of the main reasons they are here.
We say system usually.
That too.
We like to say system.
And parts.
Another term is multiple. So you refer to people with DID as multiples, and then the people who don't have it are singulars. So there's a lot of lingo. Okay, just do the last part. There's one last part.
Yes, and then the last one that is supposed to be both your types is Void. She's the calm and collected one, and she speaks her mind, and she has really brutal opinions, and she's very collected and quite intimidating at first if you get caught off guard.
It's common for the parts in the system to have different levels of power and influence.
Yes.
Void, the INTJ, is the one that has the most power. She can come out when she wants to. She can pull other parts out. She can tear River down on the inside with the internal dialogue.
Basically what Void was before she really became what she is commonly known today as one of our parts. She was just an influencing part in the back of our mind that would be considered in the subconscious, not really the subconscious, but something in there influencing it.
She didn't have a name. I named her Void because schizoids, it's on the tip of their tongue all the time. The word void is something that therapists hear from them, right? They reach for it. It's like how narcissists reach for the S word because that is everything to them. And so those are the parts.
Yes.
Very interesting. So you said you typed all of them. Well, you said void and the ESFP. What was like Annabelle and Angel?
Annabelle is an INFP. Angel is an ESTP or ENTP. Charlotte is probably an ISTP. I'm hesitant to label a type as the angry one, but I think ISTP. Candy is an ESFP. River, I think, like outwardly, the person most people would think of as an ENFP. So I type her as that. And like I said, Void is, I think, an INTJ. Definitely an introverted thinker, intuitive, and not an INTP. Well, maybe an INTP. I don't know. But,
I don't think so, but
okay. She doesn't think so.
Okay, so doctors, they didn't officially diagnose you with the DID. That's something that Mike diagnosed you with?
No, she's been officially diagnosed. She took a differential test between PTSD, complex PTSD, dissociative identity disorder, and borderline personality disorder, and they commonly go together. I could have looked up what the instrument was because I've seen the name in other places, but it was very long. It took several sessions to do.
It actually took 2 months.
Yeah, so she was just answering questions. She didn't have any therapy experience beyond that for 2 months.
Well, I did. I have been in therapy since I was like literally 15 years old for other reasons that I'll leave out for, YouTube's sake.
All right, that's really interesting. I know a lot of people do dismiss the DID. I quit my job better than I actually went back. I worked my other job one day, but my last day there was this girl. She was probably about 12 or 13. She was sitting there crying. I asked her what's wrong, and she said that nobody understands her because she has the DID, but doctors won't diagnose it. So it sounds like you went quite a few years without that diagnosis. Was it relieving at all, or how did it feel?
Honestly, at first it was confusing and hard to accept. And then over time I did accept it and got more used to it. It just took me a little while to fully understand what was being put upon myself, especially trying to, the end goal for therapy is for someone like me with DID, they need to have some unification in the mind. And that is the all end goal that needs to happen, is for singularity unification of all the personalities.
Yeah, so it is possible for the parts to merge and the symptoms to lapse. I've read about this, and I do not think it's frequent at all. I think the DID people, especially another term is polyfragmented. That's the specific term for people that have like hundreds of parts.
Yeah.
There's a technical definition. And those kind of people are never going to merge, obviously.
No.
But River only has 6. I don't know if that's even manageable. 6, even to me, seems like all of that dissociative fragmentation of the psyche and all of these things that cannot be explored, they're walled off. There's too many of them, I think.
Well,
go ahead.
To add what you were trying to say and correct some of it, is that all of us have our own separate memories and we all share it and we all explore them. There's just one that has the key to the majority of them, and we call her a gatekeeper. And that would obviously be Void, because she's the one that's been traumatized the most.
Okay, so DID, from what I understand, I haven't read a lot into it. I did watch a documentary a long, long time ago. So you're basically been traumatized, and the trauma kind of causes you where you can't process it as a singular person. So your personality kind of splits up into fragments. Is that kind of the gist of it?
Give or take.
Well, maybe you could tell them about what you remember of because the parts, she had to work out which ones emerged at which times and what events spurred them.
There's a huge timeline that I remember. If I'm really going to have to deep dive into this, I'm going to have to talk to the gatekeeper.
But it is unusual for it to happen. Like teen years is too late. I don't think that it typically happens with that. It's usually around, I believe that the average age when they claim what age it was is around 5. And that was about the age of like 3 or 4 when she started to understand. I think Void was the first thing to split.
Yeah, and that technically would go further back. But like I said, I have to communicate with her.
Can you bring Void out now, or is that something? I know you said you could do.
It would be boring. You don't want to talk to her the whole time. If anything, you want to keep it to, I think, your River or Annabelle. So
That's why I said just communicate real quick.
Yeah, Void has been, oh God, I could tell a story. So, it made headlines in the United States recently that the federal whatever for abortion is no longer upheld. And we were sitting on our balcony in our apartment and talking about it. And River has very, very strong opinions about some things. And one of them is abortion. I was kind of taking devil's advocate this because I'm an INTJ. I like doing that. And it made her so upset so quickly that there's no yelling, there's no crying, there's just she becomes void, which is this really just intense under the surface. Like the way that she responds to stuff is very different. The way that she talks to me is extremely different.
Mm-hmm.
But Void is not someone that, if she is Void, it means she's dissociating heavily. And right now she isn't. So it's unlikely that Void will come out.
Unless circumstances given. That's why I said communication is key.
Okay. Can you share like some of the things that have happened to you, or is that off limits for you?
Just simple things like when you yell something. That's always funny to me.
Oh my gosh.
I'll talk to her and I'll be like being a goofball and she's not like it. And she'll say something like, and you can really see the genuineness of it in her eyes. We'll say, we fucking stop that, you asshole. And then she'll be like, I'm sorry. That was Void and that was Charlotte. And there's a lot of examples of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of examples of we need to go get out of the house and we're going to go to a social engagement and then she's Void. And now I have to talk her down or convince her to change in a car ride, like a 20-minute car ride. And there's rules as to who can come out. I had to actually, Void came out in therapy sessions and I had to talk to her independently on multiple occasions and be like, okay, how is this going to go? You didn't come out before. It's just recently this year that she manifested in that way. So what are you going to do? Because I need you to be responsible at least some of the time. So we're working on that. But definitely speaking all of a sudden, one time we were driving and we came to kind of a grasslands nature reserve area. And it's a really beautiful stretch of road. And Charlotte was out. She turned and she said, I wish all this was on fire.
Yeah, random things like that will pop out of my mouth no matter what, no matter which part is out or who's presenting in the current time that is, speaking.
Those are easy examples.
Yes.
But even stranger things happen.
Yes. So if anything else like happened to me that would just pertain to any of those like similar events.
When we moved into this apartment, River, the part, had not been there for months because she was so stressed out that certain parts disappeared during periods of stress.
Yes. And it was actually through a period of October to about, I want to say February.
River was gone. The part was gone. And she came back suddenly and she didn't remember 3 or 4 months worth of stuff.
Yeah.
And I literally had to sit her down in the living room as she's about to cry and explain to her that this is our new apartment. Everything.
Yeah.
It was all gone. It was a really there's been many challenging moments for me. I will always remember that fucking happening.
Yeah.
Yes.
That definitely sounds pretty challenging there. So how do you cope with that? How are you understanding of that, Mike, when those things happen?
I don't know. I'm very much a person that just views life as a struggle and a task. And I committed to her and I have the intellectual ability to grapple with these things on a higher level and really make her doctors understand, even if I can't get to her family, because that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Mine too. It's really funny because all 4 of our parents are thinkers. There's no loving motherly instinct at all. Kind of her mom, but not all the time. But
if you're going to ask any questions about my family, I'll explain the best I can. But for the subject of my mother, I'll start out by saying she was a mixed bag.
Yeah, she's an ESTP.
Yes.
I think the ESTP mothers might have a little bit of difficulty with being consistently not permissive and actually giving a shit where your kids are and stuff like that. Maybe the freedom that they enjoyed when they were kids is sort of exaggerated of importance. And I think that, anyway, that's a whole nother story. I don't remember what the question was either.
Where I was trying to go with
how do
this.
I cope with it? Sorry.
I'm like, I get we're trying to do a stream, but yes, what I was trying to go with for my mother, she was not all the time emotionally available, thus the reason of the emotional instability I really have. So
So,
Yeah.
Mike, do you theorize maybe because she's like an NE Dom, like a ENFP, and they
Mhm.
really like change and kind of patterns and I guess unpredictability? Do you think that's maybe why she formed DID, or why specifically do you think in her case DID came about? Or you can answer this too, River.
My theory from a type standpoint is I think the extroverted feeling perceivers are prone to develop dissociation and very intense, extreme chronic feelings like that because they're kind of wonderful flowers and people love to be around them for their energy and they're very kind and friendly. And if you put them in a situation where they're raped and tortured, then you get to the point where their psyche cannot handle it. I think that if someone who's tougher, like an ESTJ, are probably impervious to something like DID. Even if they go through, their problems would manifest in a different way. So I definitely think feeling perceivers, especially the extroverts, because ESFPs can have DID at higher rates, especially if they're borderline. Where do you think it comes from?
I honestly think it comes from straight up dysfunction and abuse and instability within the family itself, no matter if it's like cousins, aunts, uncles, or it's your mother or your father or your sister or your brother. Everything and all of that just adds to just the major stew of what my life really was. So what I'm trying to get at is what I'm trying to say is my whole entire life has literally been stress, dysfunction, and anger most of the time. The only times that I remember that I had such strong dissociation was probably playing video games where it was my only escape.
Are you okay, River? You need a minute or? Okay. Let's change subjects a little bit. So let's talk about River and Mike. So what's it like being an ENFP INTJ couple? A lot of people really idolize this relationship.
We balance each other out quite well, honestly, but there are certain times where we're not on the same page, but we still compromise to just understand each other better, even if we're not on the same page. We just do a lot of things that complement each other. We do a lot of things that challenge each other. We do a lot of things that really just help us grow as people and just as individuals ourselves.
Okay, very cool. So you guys, just give backstory. You guys met in college about 4 years ago. Is that correct?
I already told the story. You tell the story from your
Oh my
eyes.
gosh. I remember the very first time that I saw him when I was just coming out of my class that I was doing. I can't even remember what class it was, but whatever. He was just sitting there and he was just smoking like a chimney at the time. He was smoking really like heavily and the cigarette would go down quickly because I could just tell he was so stressed out. And when I talked to him and told me about his speech class and everything, I knew that there's something to this person and he needs help.
I was schizoid that's made it through a college level speech class and actually engaged people, and I was so terrified that I actually had to divulge to my
Shrink.
No, to my professor that I thought that I was autistic with schizoid because I was just starting to really be convinced of that, and I was just telling her I'm not doing well. And with the ADHD, it was just, I have a difficult life because of all of these problems.
We both do, especially how I described my life prior to where we are now.
You saw me at the smoke corner.
But yes, when I met him at the smoking corner at the college we were attending at the time, I knew he needed help and he knew I needed help and we both needed a friend. We took that chance upon each other and this is where we are today.
Very cool. Glad you guys are able to connect to each other. I asked some questions like how he deals with your DID. How do you deal with someone that's a schizoid? I know you're an extrovert at heart, and it sounds like your other parts of you are extrovert at least. Is that difficult for you sometimes if you want to go out and socialize, but he doesn't want to?
It honestly doesn't bother me. Seriously, it really does not bother me because I understand it too. Because some of my parts are introverts too, at least 3 of them are. So they're the ones that will literally just cloister up and just say no. And when it comes to those times that he does that, I understand because in my head, the introverted parts, when they're held up in their room inside my mind and they don't want to do jack up on that thing, they literally just don't. And I leave them be. And it's fine. If I need them to come out and just to do something, fine, they'll do it. But that doesn't mean they're going to stay out long. They're going to stay out until it's accomplished. And then they'll recede back and do what they were doing. And for the extroverted parts, like I said, it doesn't bother them or me because we just have a certain feng shui within our minds that is unifying to us, that we understand each other better than we did 2 years ago.
Okay. And do you guys have activities you like to do outside of the house? I know you said that you played video games. Is there any other stuff that you do, like activities?
We
Like
like to
outside the door.
Yeah.
That's not so great for us. We're working on having friends. We like to play. That's one of the things that made me convinced that she's not an ESFP is that she's a very good Magic the Gathering player, and she kind of knew how to play before me, but I really brought her up to speed. She's a very competent, fun, respectful, intermediate player that can play other people's decks and build decks and do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So we do like tabletop. We have board games. That really was my only lifeline as a schizoid. I would very occasionally come out and play Magic with people, and that was my only contact to humanity. So we've exploited that, and that works a lot. Other than that, we have our neighbor. He's our downstairs neighbor, and we go over there all the time, and that's about the extent of our social life.
We don't do too much socializing because we have a very kinship about human beings as a whole in our opinions.
Okay, yeah, that's understandable. I'm similar. Like my ESFP, I've been teaching her like board games, and she has an ESFP. I guess he's a roommate now, and yeah, they learn pretty well, and they're doing pretty good. But we're trying to get her, my ex into Magic the Gathering again because she said that she was just bad at it. But I think that's something that takes a lot of practice and even a lot of money at times to do. I do love playing
Magic. Very good
Magic.
teacher. That's the most important part, is just finding people that will teach you.
Yes. Mm-hmm. A good teacher, and also a mind that can handle the overload of just multitasking. Mm-hmm. As a person with DID and playing Magic the Gathering, though, it's rather weird, strange, but it's doable. And it's fun all at the same time.
She's white, green, blue. She loves upkeep. She loves shutting stuff down. She loves having her offense situation stacked. It's great.
Yeah, I'm a pretty big force to be reckoned with in Magic, apparently.
You're fun.
Yeah, my favorite colors are black, white, and green, I think. I just like being like super chaotic. I guess blue and red are known for that, but those are my least favorite colors, probably.
Understandable.
Yeah. All right, and if there's any questions from people watching at home, if there is anybody watching right now, go ahead and shoot them in the box, and we will answer them at times. So you said that the little girl's name is Annabelle, right? And you said that you could bring her out pretty easily?
Yeah, I can. She's probably blending with whoever's presenting right now. Exactly. I think I'm a mixture of Annabelle, Charlotte, and probably Void. That is something that is another term entirely that happens. If not a singular mind is presenting, we call it blending, because one can be right here, one can be up here, and one can be down here, all at the same time, controlling all different things.
So like when one is in fully control, are you just totally out of touch and you have no recollection of it?
If one is in control totally, like say Void, and I'm dissociating so hard, then yes. But other than that, no.
Okay. All right. I remember watching a documentary about a British lady, and she did have multiple or DID as well. And she went to like a toy store and she got excited. Her inner child personality, I forgot what she called it, got excited about the toys, and she like seemed really embarrassed about it. Does that ever come out like that, or?
Every now and then, but I don't really show it too often. And if I do, then I just blatantly do it and I don't care.
And how have you learned to control it over the years, or has it been more challenging? Is it easier to control?
Been easier to control and a bit easier to calm down the inner child, especially if I just take a quick gaze at it and just make it up in my mind that they have it in there, but not physically, is enough. So that's how I usually would, keep them calm.
I don't know if you're just upset, but I noticed that your demeanor is changing quite a bit. You're more short and sweet to the point, like an INTJ would be, instead of informative as an ENFP would be.
Yeah, I know. I'm slowly blending into that, but that's okay.
That's fine. No worries. Just I was just pointing that out there. So how do you know when she's shifting? What signs do you give Mike when she's like changing into another part of herself?
More not often than not, they're very subtle. It wasn't obvious to me when certain parts come out. It still kind of isn't. Yeah, go ahead.
I apologize. It's my phone.
It still kind of isn't. Like Annabelle comes out frequently when we're cuddling. And it's very obvious that she's Annabelle. She'll even reveal to me that she's Annabelle, be like, oh, I'm out. And they kind of go. If it's like we're doing something like paperwork or we're in the doctor's office or something like that, it's very frequently either River, Candy, or Angel. They're the types that are cooperative and can do stuff. Charlotte is not always cooperative. If she's angry, is almost always Charlotte.
Yes.
But if she's getting to the point where she's about to really lay some verbal abuse on me, which is not typical at all, then I would think void. There's lots of signs. It's not any one thing, but my understanding with DID is that it's not always so obvious. Like one lady in a group, I can't talk about the group, but one thing
I would stop where you are now.
I just wanted to mention that. Well, whatever. But you can have just one part. Like that's all the diagnosis takes is just two persons living in the same body. It doesn't have to be hundreds. But I think I forgot where I was going with that.
Either way.
With the mental health twins.
We are classically known as that, yes. But we're also known for being the couple that defies the odds quite a bit.
Okay, very cool. So, like you said that you kind of saw each other and you kind of instinctively known that you needed to give each other help. What other advice can you give the INTJ, ENFPs that might be looking for one another?
The advice that I give is give a chance to the people that you normally wouldn't. Because for me, I normally wouldn't give anybody like him a chance because they're not extroverted and they can't keep up with me. But over the years and knowing him has taught me a lot more than I really thought I knew about people. Because I'm a very good expert about people. I have been through a lot of sweet honey iced tea.
Okay.
So, it's just one of those things for me and for other people to understand is just to give it a chance to people that are just the opposite. Because you never know when you'll find a diamond in the rough in tight places. And that goes for both.
Okay, from what I understand, River, you're fairly new to typology.
Yes.
Do you felt you maybe ever met any INTJs in the past before, Mike, besides maybe Void?
Yeah, I have, and they weren't very accepting of me anyways, because they just saw me as one of the ones that would just blend into the background or in a very violent scenario be locked in a trunk to be left for dead. They didn't see me as someone that could be not expendable. Let's just put it that way.
What do you mean exactly by locked in a trunk and left for dead?
Oof. I was going to say just being naive. Let's put it that way.
Okay. All right. So we talked about some of your struggles. So you're pretty much okay with Mike's introversion. So I'm guessing like kind of trying to make friends and having romantic partners and stuff has been a challenge for you, has it been for Mike, obviously?
In the past, yes, it has been, especially knowing that I had things in my head that weren't supposed to be there before I had the DID diagnosis. It was rather hard to keep a stable relationship or any kind of friendship or relationship, either with family or peers or friends or anybody of the sort, because I would either say no or they would just go away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
it's just both of us have this just long, unfortunate history of all these bad social contacts, suicide features, drugs feature. That we just have bad backgrounds,
yes.
honestly. So right now in our relationship and our lives, we kind of just want to be left alone.
For the most part.
So, like, I know Mike said you struggle with alcoholism. Have you guys helped each other with your like substance abuse issues?
We are
or-
doing Sober September.
Mhm.
We're not having a drop of alcohol this whole month. And River and our neighbor, because when we met our neighbor, instantly it was just we're buying all bottles of Bacardi and all kinds of stuff. Went straight back to the heavy drinking. I can drink a lot, but we
You
want to.
both can.
We have for the entire time wanted to kiss it goodbye because her parents are total enablers, like in a really sick way.
Mm-hmm.
And
They're in a weird term or in a common term that I know people to use is alcohol bully.
So when you drink, voy comes out.
no,
Is that what you're
well,
saying?
yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes, but when that happens, you probably should walk away.
She means that when you go to their house, you will end up drinking no matter what, unless you
Yes.
totally refuse and leave. There is no path of being around them that doesn't involve alcohol. They're
Yeah.
alcohol bullies.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so those are the type of people probably should stay away from alcohol for
Mhm.
sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I had something on the tip of my tongue, but I was going to forgot what it was. So I think I was talking to Mike last time, and he said that you're going to start EMDR therapy. Have you explored that yet? And what other modalities of therapy have you guys started?
I'm still currently trying to work on an avenue for my anger and my emotions and how to help regulate them to cope necessarily, because he got a job and I also have abandonment issues. So I'm not afraid to say that. And I know it's not healthy, but it's the result of abusive relationships from boyfriends and girlfriends that would just not really be present at all.
So you boyfriends and girlfriends. So you can identify as bisexual, or how does that exactly work with male and female parts?
I
of
am
your
a
person?
pan.
We're both bisexual.
No, I'm a pan, remember?
I don't remember what I am.
Yes.
I'm not straight, but
He's
Yeah.
bisexual.
well, I
am
was
pan.
I had to quit a job because of her DID, and I liked the job. It was physical, and I got a lot of overtime. I was mowing lawns, so I would be working in the summer, and then winter you do snow removal, and it was a good gig. But she could not handle the fact that all of my coworkers were high all the time. They're all felons, Just I can deal with people. It's okay. Now I got a job. I'm doing a totally non-INTJ job, and that makes me very excited. I'm doing home care and part-time home care, so I can be home for her and have all the room for appointments. I know how to transcribe, so I've been doing that kind of stuff as well, trying to transition to an online situation. There's just that's one thing about, like, when I go on to Schizoid spaces and stuff, there's a lot of negative attitudes towards their lives and the prospects. And I feel like just my attitude of you just need to be creative enough and you'll find a way to live. And my way right now, I just got a job. I'm working this weekend is dealing with old people. And my grandmother is slipping into later stage dementia. And I feel like if I am good at it and I have a certain amount of toughness, and it could expand my empathy, there's all kinds of stuff. So you don't have to be a software programmer or a physicist or anything like that. INTJs exist in other spaces. So
Yeah, I have a very hands-on job. It's most like a first responder type of position. I guess I saved 2 people from suicide recently. Not a INTJ job, I guess. Maybe that's why I was mistyped as an ESTP of all the types. Just want to remind the people at home, if you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chats and we'll get to them. And I also see here in our questionnaire that we shared back and forth that you talked about Enneagram. Can we talk about that a little bit for you guys? I know you said you're a 5W6, right, Mike?
You know about Enneagram. I'm a 5-wing 4.
Oh goodness, River and the Body Eyes is a 7-wing 6.
We wrote down all of the different Enneagrams with Enneatypes with wings. Okay, let's go down the list.
Oh no.
Annabelle is a 9-wing 1. Angel is a 7-wing 8. Charlotte is a 9-wing 8. Candy is a 2-wing 3. River is a 7-wing 6, and Void is an 8-wing 9. I think INTJ 8 might not really exist in real life. I think that's what people think Hillary Clinton is, but yeah, INTJ 8.
I actually did a video on Hillary Clinton. She is an ISTJ.
I saw it. Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's somewhere where they say that she said that she was an INTJ and Bill Clinton was an ENFP, but I could not find that anywhere. So
yeah, I didn't believe it when that was said.
Yeah.
She's elbow rubby. She's kind of give a good speechy. You know, maybe INTJs, their energy doesn't approximate that most of the time. So
yeah, she definitely seems
She's a good motivator, I guess.
It's true.
She's in the good old boy / girl system. You can definitely tell that for sure.
Yeah.
Mamu, she has a question. I believe it's a she. I apologize if I got your gender wrong. What do ENFPs like about INTJs?
There's quite a bit that I do like about INTJs. I really like that they are smarter, they are hands-on, they also put in different perspectives of an introvert would if you weren't per se, you know, an extrovert. Just different perspective and an inward thought of everything that could be presented and thought through. I think of endless possibilities. He thinks logically and straight to the point, and he also thinks of ways to solve everything.
And that can be frustrating to some people. I hear like people complain about INTJs, how like they solve puzzles and games before everybody else does, I guess. Do you ever have an issue like if you're playing a game like that?
I don't have any issue with that with him.
I have noticed that I do that. I'll be just like walking past someone doing something and be like, oh, why don't you do it this way? And they'll just be like, shove off.
Yeah.
Just not everyone wants you to instruct them in everything. So
I'm not opposed to it really because, you know, I think in endless possibilities. And when he presents a possibility, I think of it and I think of how it could go any other direction.
Yeah, I used to play Magic Gathering with a ENFP coworker, her boyfriend, and her roommates and stuff. We had a lot of fun, except for the ENTP. I didn't get along with him, oddly enough. That's kind of
narcissistic.
What's that?
Narcissistic. I heard they're the most prone to it. I like ENTPs. I like being around them, but they always have something to say, and that has always been a trait ever since I was a kid that I just don't like. But
I don't think he was narcissistic. I don't know exactly what he was. He was very aggressive. I guess we're both unhealthy in our own ways, and we butted heads maybe because, I don't know, he is in his INTJ shadow, and maybe I was in my INTJ mode. And two INTJs in a room is probably not usually a pretty thing. So,
usually. But I can tell you two get along.
Yeah, I mean, you know, from an hour talk, I guess. I don't know how we'd get along in person. I guess I consider going to Colorado, so I guess we'd have to see one day, possibly.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, I have some friends in Colorado Springs. I considered going down there and visiting.
Guess what? We live in Greeley. We live in the butthole of Colorado, the butt end of a joke of South Park, the Greeley cows, and it's just like that. I like telling people this, but Greeley, Colorado is so the philosopher, the Islamic philosopher that most influenced Osama bin Laden was studying at the university in Greeley, and amongst the people of Greeley, they were the ones that he decided that Americans must die. So they were right there in the forefront, and they were the guinea pigs, the test subjects for him. And I don't agree, but man, this part of Colorado is not the best. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm in Tucson. It has the highest crime rate in all of Arizona, so I think I can relate to that.
Yeah.
All right, Mamu, flip the question around. What do INTJs like about ENFPs?
I like ENFPs a lot. I like all the feeling perceivers. I'm very attracted to them. I like FI. I like that they have this inner universe of feeling to explore. It's very different from my inner experience, which is very vacuous, I would say. It almost doesn't feel like I'm a person, but really that symptom is alleviated a lot recently. I think it might go away eventually, that I do feel like a person at some point. But any people, they both frustrate me and fascinate me at the same time. Because my dad is an intuitive perceiver, and it's just the way that he speaks and the way that he goes about what he does is not only funny, it's just interesting to watch them move in the world. They're not the easiest to govern, but they're the most fun when you're not governing them. So
Yeah, that's pretty much my sentiments on people and stuff altogether.
hmm.
So how do you think your NI and your NE complement each other? Would you say that's a pretty good part of the ENFP INTJ relationship, or is that any conflict there?
Okay, you might be stretching my understanding of the theories, but what I understand is that intuition is putting information together as opposed to appreciating what it is literally. So they're out there, NE is out there evaluating possibility, and NI is kind of arranging information according to matrices of time. And I think that maybe just we're always spitting out ideas and we kind of structure each other's ideas.
Mm-hmm.
We're very good at scheduling and keeping on top of things and being orderly as best we can. But I really feel like just living in, I don't know, I just like being around intuitives. A lot of it is just that I haven't spent a lot of time around them. Like
Yeah.
I didn't do much college. I didn't do high school or do any clubs like that. I've been in the working world and not at good jobs. So I've just been interacting with senses. So it's just very refreshing to have someone like my dad who can just, you ask them a question and you're going to get an interesting answer, right?
Mhm.
That kind of person.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That must be pretty cool to have an INTP is what your dad was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet relationship to have with your father, I guess. My stepdad was an ESFP, so it was kind of like talking to a wall, I guess, in a lot of ways for me as an NI Dom.
Yeah.
All right, Mamu, thank you for the questions. I really appreciate it. What is a pedagogue relationship and what does it mean? I don't know if you know about this, either of you, but
No.
so a pedagogue relationship is in Socionics, basically it's a teaching relationship. You learn from each other, and it definitely sounds what Mike and River says is that they've learned from each other. It's basically when you have your same thinking and feeling function, but just in a different order. If you look at like stacks of how the golden pair and a silver pair, like an INTJ and an ENTP is a golden pair, INTJ and INTP is a silver pair. It's always the pedagogue relationship's always in the fourth highest compatibility. So it's known as a teaching relationship. There's supposed to be some, I think an ideal relationship really should be some conflict and some contrast. I think if you're too compatible, it can be almost enabling in a way.
That's definitely what it sounds like to me. Like I learned so much from her, and she brought me out of a really dark place. And getting a little intimate, but she was plotting suicide when I met her, and that's kind of the realm that we were in. And we had to teach and learn and teach and learn and teach and learn. And it's just been a haze of that kind of thing. I feel a lot wiser. So pedagogue, now I understand the word. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like our relationship a lot.
Like going back to the suicide statements, it was literally the only thing I could think of that could just end the suffering that I went through before I met him. So, not to sound like glum and doom and gloom and all that stuff, but that's just the ultimate reality of it. If you're someone like me and have DID and you didn't realize what it really was, what are you supposed to do to just live and just go through the suffering, or do you want it to stop? I decided to keep going through therapy and meet him and just help myself even more and help him along the way. it was a learning process for me to understand myself better, and it was a learning process to understand him better. And where we are today, I'm very grateful for where we are, and I do not feel suicidal anymore.
That's very good. I'm better part of 25, 30 years I felt suicidal, and it just seems like there's no other way out. And there's always a part of me that just never would do it. And now I have a son, so I definitely can't leave him behind for sure.
No.
And you do mention nihilism a lot in, well, at least once in a document. Can you, I mean, you kind of shared a little bit how you're nihilistic. Can you guys elaborate on that a little bit? Because I know INTJs are kind of pigeonholed into this term.
Well, I use the Nietzschean definition of nihilism, which means that when you stop believing in everything, you want everything to be destroyed. So we have these strong verbal patterns of just throwing up our hands and saying F everything. And it's really toxic, and we get dark quickly, and we have to pull ourselves aside all the time to try and combat this feeling that we want everything to end. And we don't believe in the future of technology, the future of global infrastructure. We don't necessarily see society as that good of a thing.
We have very unpopular opinions, honestly.
Yeah.
So, not to get really descriptive and into detail about it, but we are nihilistic to the point that, like he said, it is toxic, but it's also realistic because of everything that everybody is feeling all at once. We're the ones that just speak the truth, no matter how broken we really are.
That's another way to tell apart ESFPs and ENFPs. ESFPs sort of, they have to be, or they always want to be positive. Modern ENFPs probably can't keep it up anymore if they're informed. Like, I don't think that ENFPs are very happy nowadays, but...
I remember when I was really young, probably about 19, I worked with this ENFP girl, and we actually went to high school together, but we didn't really know each other that well. But looking back, I can definitely tell that she really, really liked me. But I think with my own real lack of self-confidence, I didn't want to believe it. And FE trickster down in the shadow, I just didn't really catch up on a lot of the cues. What are some signs? I don't know if you could answer this because you're not, I guess, neurotypical, or maybe you're just not, as a state of mind as most ENFPs. What are some signs an ENFP may show an INTJ that they like them?
Be blunt.
Should I tell them?
No.
Okay, I won't tell them.
It's really embarrassing because it was just straight to the point how I just asked him to, leave it to your imagination.
ENFPs are flirtatious. They're known to have that capacity. I think they'll just lay it on. So
they can lay it on thick, or they can lay it on very thin. How I did it, it was very thick.
Yeah. She was very subtle about it, I guess. She was always just wanting to spend time with me and hang out on lunch and stuff like that. But I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. I was subtle at first, and then I was just like, you know what?
You're describing
all cards on the table.
You are describing the exact same situation. I was FE trickster. I didn't know what was going on. So I'm autistic. Yeah.
Yeah, that explains pretty much the majority of the problems or solutions that we come upon.
Every once in a while throughout my life, like a woman will just come up to me and very, very strong. I'm like kind of just blindsided. How did you react when she said that to you, Mike? Did you kind of get the hints? You didn't sound like you didn't get the hints, but when she just came on into you and was try it out, how was that for you?
I didn't know if I would actually. I'm not a very sexual person. I'm very averse to human contact. So I didn't know what to do at first. I ignored the signal, which was very, And then I started sexting her later. And very shortly after that, like maybe 10 texts in, she couldn't hold it back anymore. And that's when she told me that she was raped. Yep. So, and at that point, I promised her we will always be friends. Even if I don't care about screwing you anymore, it's fine. Like, I just want to make sure that you're in a good place at the end of the night. And we talked, and we've literally talked to each other every day since then. So,
and we're living under the same roof.
Yeah.
And when you're trying to, I don't know how long of a period this was, River, when you're trying to show that you liked Mike, did the different parts of their personality come out, and did he see them? Or
he saw them all for what they were, but the one that really attached him really quickly, if I remember, was Candy, right? She was the one that caught the eye of him real quickly and just decided to engage with him more and just to understand if he has what she is wanting. And obviously he did. And it led to River, and then Annabelle, then Angel, then Charlotte, then lastly, then Void, just to like him and to honestly love him. Because Candy was first, Void was last.
Yeah, they didn't even like me at first.
No.
I had to win over 6 people, essentially.
Yes.
But
That's quite a feat for an INTJ. I can't even win over one.
I don't know how I'm even here. I don't know. It's a total blur. I have a poor memory.
Yeah. I remember a lot of key things, even though I have DID and everything that says that I have amnesia or dissociative amnesia or any of the sort. I still have memories that each part remembers with him that we can all put it in a timeline together. So it's really not that hard for me to recite any moment that was close, touching, or indifferent.
All right. I appreciate this, guys. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Well, we have one more question from Mamu. I do appreciate your participation. If INTJs are hiding, very introverted, how can they find ENFPs?
INTJs require a lot of work. I think the average person that is born into that psyche is not attuned to many basic things that have to do with networking or just caring about society. And I feel like INTJs are not born into that, but they more often than not have the capacity to overdevelop that. They can blend in, they can do whatever you want, right?
They're adaptable.
Just got to work. Like, ENFPs are pretty easy. They're people that you want to be friends with pretty quickly.
Because we can get real buddy up quickly and butter you up good.
I also think that INTJs are very prone to thinking they need to have someone that's the same as them. And I've always been drawn to people who are different than me just for the variety. So,
yeah, I think you just really got to leave the house one way, I guess, to find them. I guess you could do online dating or something. That hasn't been very beneficial for me, but ENFPs are out there. And the job I had before this, I was talking to an ENFP girl, but I guess she was in a relationship, so that didn't pan out. Okay, I want to close this out. I see some book recommendations. I don't know if these are more from Mike or these are from you, River. Would you guys like
they're from me. We got a couple things to share.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do the paintings first.
Yeah, let's do that. I'll show.
River has a very strong artistic side, obviously, as an ENFP, and she could not, because of the emotional turmoil, paint for years and years and years. And she picked it up just a couple days ago, and some of them are really great.
Yeah, so there's that one right there that I made. You do
it.
It's right here. That's the one I made
We like
about a
the
couple
rainbow
days
forest,
ago.
and then she did one of 2 parts.
Yeah, so the one, Charlotte, the angry part, or the one that is in turmoil almost 24/7 and quiet, would be right here. So,
like an abstract thing.
Yeah.
And then the one of Void is really cool. I want to frame it somewhere. She won't let me frame these or anything. I don't know what we're going to do with them.
We'll figure it out. But this one is Void as well.
It does look quite voidish, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and the books.
Yes, the books recommendations are right here. So.
I got The Divided Self. It's an old, dusty book about the continuity of schizoid personality disorder and schizophrenia. It was really dark, but it's short, and it just has a lot of the old language and theory and stuff. And then this one has been really tremendously helpful to me. It's called Borderline, Narcissistic, and Schizoid Adaptations. It's written by a specialist in these 3 disorders. And I think that her descriptions and her parsing of the 3 and other disorders is the best written that I've ever encountered. I'm not a psychology nerd, but it's really helpful. So definitely check this out. I didn't have a 3rd book, so I thought I'd do a quote by my favorite philosopher, Albert Camus. And I just love this quote. It says, in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer, and that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me, there's something stronger, something better, pushing right back. I just want to share that.
Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. One last piece of advice you'd give to an INTJ, ENFP couple, or maybe they're not working out, maybe they're struggling, maybe an ENFP can't connect to the INTJ like we just talked about, or perhaps even vice versa. Is there any piece of advice you would give to them?
Use your intuition, be expansive.
That and also listen to their needs.
Yeah, so many times people have this selfish way of euphemistically stumbling through relationships that needs to be untangled by therapy. But I would say the typical INTJ stuff, maybe just tell them, research some lists online and do that. ENFPs, I would probably tell them to just, they can't be everything for you. Maybe there's a temptation to think that, wow, he's dark and mysterious and he has all these great qualities. INTJs have serious limitations. And I think that ENFPs don't have as, maybe they're a little ADHD, a little bit scattered, but they have a lot more blessings than maybe an INTJ, especially because I'm not a genius level IQ INTJ. I'm just a above average IQ. Take it day by day. You know, you got a long time to figure each other out. If things are not working at first, just have this mutual commitment to say, we'll find the solutions later, not today, tomorrow, or some other time, you know?
I know INTJs are pretty hell-bent about finding solutions immediately. So yeah, that could be very hard for us to let go with. All right, Mike.
Take a breath and walk away, then come back later.
Yeah, I think that's something we can definitely learn from the perceiving types. We kind of have to have closure and just get everything out of the way. But sometimes it's best just to walk away and cool down and think things through.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Anyways, thank you for having us on your show.
Was that it? That's over again.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys coming on. There will be a slowdown from content for me. I thought I was switching jobs, but I guess I'm not. I'm going back to my old one. My son is having some pretty concerning behavioral issues, so I am trying to be there and being a support for him. So I'm spending some extra time with him. Please, if you like this video, just give it a quick like. I would really appreciate that. Thank you for going beyond the clickbait. Do you guys have any closing comments or questions or anything?
No, it was great, Jeff. Love the show. Think you make really good content, and I'm very glad to finally be able to set aside psychology. It's not my favorite subject, but this show has given me closure because I always thought that I would share my SPD problems on a YouTube channel. I didn't have to make my own, just use yours. So
there you go. It's a lot of work, and I saved you some steps there for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for going beyond the clickbait. Mamu, thank you for your participation. I appreciate your engagement as usual, and have a good day.